Hey, good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Hey, we just got some brothers here, man. We're gonna have a conversation in reference to post 2020 election, and it's supposed to be another gentleman with us, but we got four brothers here: myself, Tariq, Brian, and C. Grooms. First, I want to just let everybody know what these brothers do individually. I try to always let people know that I just don't pick anybody just to come up here. Uh, See, Grooms, we you've been on the show before with me, but I don't think you explained to everybody about your podcast and what you do, brother,
Right.
and your books and all
Um.
that stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm an author. I just finished my third book, Pushback Beyond the 120. 120 is in reference to the 5% nation. We had 120 lessons we had to learn. You know, when we were younger. It's part of the knowledge itself. That's basically an introduction. Into morality and the things that we should know. But I just finished my third book, Pushback Beyond the 120 is basically going beyond what you are initially taught with anything. You get taught things and then you do further research. You say, oh, wow, okay, I learned something different. You learn something new that you can actually carry with you that's not, copy, memorized, and mimic, But I have a podcast. We do political, mostly political, sociological issues. We talk about relationships. It's called the Two Grumpy Men. That's me and my brother Bobby May. Been doing that about 2 years, and that's about it, man. I just write, I build, and I try to build as much as possible, especially on the political and the law angle, because I think that's kind of where we lacking, as a people. We don't all have to come together, but there has to be a section of us that does. We all split up all over the place. I guess we're gonna build on it tonight. We're talking about the election and
Yeah.
Democrats, Republicans, Independents. I, we gonna talk about it, but yeah, that's yeah.
Hey, Tariq, explain it because a lot of people see you in the group. They see you comment, and some one
Yeah,
of
I'm
the things that I
opinionated.
noticed. Yeah, one of the things that I noticed in the group is that even though myself and the two young ladies, and as well as a couple other people that who always invite a lot of their friends in the group, is a lot of times in groups on Facebook, we tend to look at somebody like they don't know what they're talking about when we're speaking about a certain issue, not knowing that you could be speaking directly to someone's wheelhouse, whether they're in the financial sector, economist, they could be a lawyer. You don't know, and it's like one of the things that we try to do is actually get a lot of people that are professional. Not saying that a person that's not uh, that didn't go to college couldn't be well read, because that's what I would consider myself. I did go to secondary school, but I didn't complete. So you know what they always say: if you didn't complete, you didn't go. But
Mhm.
just I know that you be going back and forth with people because a person may not think that you know what you're talking about. So just Tariq, give some people, I know you're a business owner.
Yeah. So I'm from Newark originally, but I've been down here in Baltimore like all my life basically. I moved down when I was like 12, so got a little small business, property management, home inspections, do some real estate investment things like that. So I'm into politics, you know what I mean? I'm opinionated about different things, but I I like the group because we get to do a lot of back and forth, just discussing things, and and it's good people. So that's why I'm here just to chop it up and just exchange thoughts with y'all. So that's what I
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
just the whole exchange, the dueling, challenging
Uh-huh.
ideas and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Sometimes people think that you challenge them, you know, I ain't necessarily coming after you. I'm trying to elaborate and get us to think differently or see what other angle, you might can approach something. So
And Brian, who I always call my little cousin, but he's far from little. He's a grown man. Most people don't even most people that we even grew up with didn't know that me and Brian was cousins. But his grandfather, my grandmother, brother and sister. So that's how we're related. But Brian, explain to the people where what you do, and because a lot of people don't know what you went to college for, your background, how you invest and stuff like that.
Okay, how you brothers doing tonight?
Good, good.
As you elaborated, we're cousins. I'm an entrepreneur now. Originally started out in school. I went to school for finance, and then I switched over to economics, and that's really my wheelhouse. I enjoy, like you guys said, being in the group. I try to educate some of the other people. You know, people think that because you grew up with them, or they kind of know you, that they know everything about you, or how you think, or they might have one up on you. But as you said, I invested a lot in the stock market right now, and that's my bread and butter. Like I said, I have a vast knowledge of economics and how money works and how we should keep money in our community and things of that nature. And that's what I usually try to bring to the group. And like I said, I'm just ready to be here and build with you gentlemen, and let's see where this goes.
Okay, one of the things, and the reason why is I kind of wanted you brothers to come on here last week when me and the girls were on here, but things happen for a reason, which actually may speak better to you guys' wheelhouse that we came on post election. We know that it's interesting because we got a lot to discuss with this election. It's almost like, where do you start? Saturday, I finally actually put in a group based off of the main three news sources that the elected winner was Vice President Biden, and so now he's considered the president elect. However, one of the things that I wanted to discuss was the Electoral College has not certified these votes yet. Even some of the states that the President Trump, as of right now, hasn't even in some of the states that he lost where he's not even challenging, those states still haven't sent the certified the votes, which is very rare because they do have until December 13th to do it. Then it's an extra deadline to the 23rd. So what are you guys' opinion about this election? How it went down? How he's challenging the mail-in votes? Everything.
That's a whole lot right there, boy.
First, let me say this. First and foremost, we kind of knew this was going to happen 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
We knew because of COVID, the mail-in ballots was going to come into play, and we knew that basically it was going to be hard. But even with them, the media saying that President Biden won, 4 days after the election was kind of odd, so to say, because all the mail-in ballots have to be counted. I know New Jersey's you had to have it in a certain date, but I live in a state where the mail-in ballots didn't have to be in until 8:00 election night.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask you, C. Grooms, because I know you be going at it on your page, man. You even had to you even had to break some history down at Electoral College.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of just what's going on?
I think what's going on is we getting some lessons beyond high school civics. Some of us believe that we go out, we go to the polls, we cast our vote, and then it's over. But in reality, we just cast an indirect vote. Since you brought up the Electoral College, we are the indirect vote, and we're supposed to be represented by the electors who we already selected because they're in Senate and Congress. And that's why it's important to vote every 2 years. You got to know who's in there and who's going to align with, your agendas and everything. So here we are, we cast a vote. The electors who they like you said, what was the date? December 13th? Because I never had an actual date. Yeah. So
that's just
they have,
certification.
yeah, they have a whole month, and they allow that month because ballots have to be counted. Okay. And it's not on us. Like we're indirect voters. The Electoral College is 538 people, and the Supreme Court just got involved. I think a couple of months ago. I think it was like 2 months ago. They said that they had to, in 31 states,
right,
you had to vote with the people. Now, so when you hear that in the news that the Supreme Court just got involved, say now 31 states have to vote with the people. What does that tell you? That they didn't have to do that before. You know, they was probably doing it in some states, but for the Supreme Court to step in and say, no, y'all have to do it in these 31 states, you know, that means it was a problem there. It could always be voter suppression and things like that. So that was my biggest thing, is to try to tell people about the Electoral College and the process, and that, yes, your vote matters and it counts, but your electors is more important than you. But then you put your electors in office. So who are your electors? A lot of people don't even know that. There's a list though. Right. They have a state-by-state list. Who are the people? And that's kind of where we are. Everybody was dancing, celebrating. I seen some real shameful stuff, you know, going on. I understand being happy about the process, but understand the history of where we come from. I mean, what goes on in elections here? Like, this is no different than the 2000 election. 1876, we had this happen. They had the 1877 compromise. It's the same thing. They challenged it in the Supreme Court. You know, so Trump is going to do the same thing. He's going to challenge it in certain states. And I don't find it ironic that he's going to Pennsylvania to do that, because, you know, I mean, it's one of the strongest Supreme Courts as far as the state level is in the United States, you know, and it's a commonwealth. So they kind of operate on their own. Massachusetts, Kentucky, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. They're 4 commonwealth states. They voluntarily go along with what the United States say. They don't have to. It's written in the Constitution. Like, they're commonwealth states. That's why they do that. And the mail-in ballots, I get it. You know, they've been doing mail-in ballots. People that's in the military, they send in mail-in ballots, absentee ballots. Here's the kicker, though. The election was now. Think about anybody that might have had a recent death in the family. Anybody get mail from people that are not alive anymore that lived in your household? You know, you could mail them in. It's a crime, but the vote is going in regardless.
Right.
You know, so they got to certify the ballots. What's an official ballot? What's not? I'm hearing some other stuff, some watermark stuff. Like, there's like certain ballots that are illegal off the rip. You know, so it's shaky. So people are celebrating, but be mindful that this is not going to play out the way that y'all think it is. The media can't call an election. Only the Electoral College can certify the votes, and that's kind of where we are right now.
Tariq, I'm asking you because I know we had chopped it up before on the page, and you live in that DMV area, man, and it's a whole different vibe down there. What goes on, and basically that area runs the country, so Absolutely. To say. Mm-hmm. Tariq, what are they saying down there, and in the media down there, and not more the local media? How are they approaching what's going on?
Well, you know, I'm in a blue state, you know, so they are more or less in the bag for the Democrats anyway. So, you know, all the media you hearing here, you know, local, it's more pushing toward, you know, the whole CNN line. We happy to have Trump out and this, that, and the other. But, you know, listen, I'm happy to joke out of here too, hopefully. But honestly, from the whole vote, I looked at black people and the influence they had. You talk about Philadelphia, how they was counting them votes, and that the lead just kept boom, boom, boom. Same thing, Georgia, counting votes in Atlanta. Same thing, everywhere they went, Detroit, wherever. So for me, it shows that even though you operating within their system, we still have that power if we learn how to use it and harness it. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, that's the message. You know, I'm always talking about, you be hearing me on the page. I'm never the person that's going to be saying like, yo, it don't make no sense to vote, or it ain't gonna make a difference, or it's all rigged, Illuminati, this and that. I mean, yeah, motherfuckers. What it comes down to is they have the power and the influence, and everything they do is gonna be to further that. It don't necessarily even have to be a conspiracy. It's just a like state of mind, and everybody in unison, carrying out the same thing. And so that's in turn, that's how we gotta be, and that's how it showed, like through that vote, that it just showed how our numbers just. I mean, those city populations always, in most cases, overwhelm, those rural areas, and that's us. You know what I mean? And so it was good to see that, everybody see that that's what turned that vote around, no matter what. So I want us to use that. You know what I mean? I want us to figure out how to use that and really get something back and really come up. Like, I'm good with a Republican. I wish we would have had somebody on here that was Republican. You know what I mean? But my family, they'll call me a Republican because I don't agree with every Democrat position, right? So soon as I don't agree with something, that's the first thing they hit me with is, "Oh, you're a Republican." I'm a Republican anyway. So you know what I mean? So I want to, you know what I mean? So I'm down with, and I don't know if y'all like the Puff thing, All Black Voices. I went on there and checked that out, right? Because I was like, all right, that's a good idea. You go read through their platform, and it's right on target. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody checked it out, but the platform is right on target. Because one of the things it said is that, you know what I mean, we not a monolith. You can have your different train of thought. We can think differently. You can be pro-abortion, I can be pro-life or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, but we can still have a black agenda. We don't have to be focused on that shit. You leave that out. You know what I mean? And I done said that on several different posts or whatever. Like, listen, we can have a core agenda, and then all the other nonsense we leave out, because we ain't gonna never agree.
I think that's one of the things that it's always interesting when I do ask people, and I try not to ask people their political affiliation. One of the things that people are very quick to say that they will vote a certain party just down the line, even in their local politics, and don't even realize how that can affect them. Brian, what are they saying? You back home or you in California? I know you be moving, man.
No, I'm in New Jersey.
So I know it's blue. Blue up north is all blue. And we basically get the same media where I'm at. What is the vibe? I mean, what's the vibe? I know that New Jersey just started a new lockdown and vaccinations, because all this stuff is tied together, whether any of us want to agree with it or not. It's all together. The COVID, unfortunately, was politicized. The mask was politicized. So it would be remiss for us to have this conversation and not talk about this stuff as well.
I think the vibe is very Civil War-ish, if you will, It's very divided. We have a lot of people in a small amount of space. So you have a lot of different ideologies, and you actually get to see them out in play. It's not like these other large states where, you're driving 40, 50, 60 miles out somewhere and then it starts to change. Here it's, one neighbor on one side could be blue, and you got your other neighbor over here who's all the way to the right. It's very extreme. I will say about the election, I was extremely disgusted after the election, just the behavior of the people. As Tariq said, I'm one of the guys now. I'll let you guys know I didn't vote for president this time. I didn't. I can't.
You downvoted.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not one of those guys who are just gonna exercise it to exercise it. I'm at this place right now in my life where, I need something. You're gonna have to give me something to, me to vote. And that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm gonna be. And like I said, there's just a lot of extremism up here right now. I didn't like the way that we reacted. I saw a lot of my friends, I had a discussion with a lot of my peers, and I was borderline hurt because I'm like, you would have thought we got rid of apartheid, or there was some type of knocking down of the Berlin Wall. You would have thought something major happened the way that they were acting, like we were really liberated. And that just is not the case. And I was just shocked at how one thing that COVID has taught me, and I told you this, is the way that groupthink works. All of us have been locked in for the most part. We can move around and do certain things, but we're all pretty much watching the same news, or we're on the same platforms. And, you get to see how people just regurgitate the same stuff over and over and over and over again. And it actually came home to roost now. And like I said, that thing, it was embarrassing to me that, people don't want to exercise your right to vote, exercise your right to think, and, have some type of logic, in what you're doing. I don't care what you do, however you choose to do it. I never told anybody to not vote, even though that's what I decided to do. But at least have some reasoning with it. And a lot of the people were under the same, well, I just hate this guy. I just want him out of here. And I was like, how is that a win for us? How did we win? Because, we got this other guy. Like, where's the win at? Where is the win? And, nobody told me yet. I'm still waiting.
One of the things that I noticed is, and I noticed this during the vice president debate. This is when I really picked up on it, and it's interesting how we became the old men at the diner when we used to watch them talk politics. Now that became us. So one of the things that I noticed was, and this is the strangest thing about I've ever seen election. Biden and Kamala Harris's politics are very far apart, but they were running mates. Mm-hmm. Pence's politics and President Trump's politics were far apart. So here you basically had a debate with the vice presidents speaking on policies that they don't even agree with, but they got to defend.
Right.
And I say that because I want to ask C. Groom something. What do you think now? Let's say if Vice President Biden, President-elect, according to the news,
yeah.
If he becomes president, what are people to expect policy-wise? Because he's talking about working across the aisle, and then he has a running mate who's basically, she was at one time Medicare for all. She switched up. She switched up, and that's a major issue in our country is Medicaid and Medicare. What's going on? And the Green Deal, like these were policies and issues that were very dear to him and very dear to her, and these are the things that they actually went at it when they had with their debates. So, what do you think going forward is going to be? What is she going to be able to get him to compromise on, or will she be able to get him to compromise?
I think they have a middle ground. She was Medicare for all, right? Now Medicare is mostly geared towards the elderly population, but Biden was also in office when the Affordable Care Act dropped. So they have a middle ground because the Affordable Care Act, a lot of people probably don't know, is that it is affordable based on your income and your situation. They basically just certify how much you make and, how many people in your household, and they go from there. Then you do get a list of plans that you can afford. Maybe not on the first screen. You do have to call them. So they basically want to call, make sure that you are who you say you are. Right. So they're going to show you a bunch of bull, when you first log on. You say, damn, I can't afford that. That's too high. Then they tell you, they tell you to call. So you call, you get on the phone, and, I think that's their middle ground. Now, in terms of the policies, I think what's going to be important for him, and I think this is the advantage that he probably would. Well, no, I know he'll have the advantage over Trump is that he will put a better cabinet in place. See, Trump kind of winged it, like, hey, I made it here. I wasn't supposed to be here, but now that I am here, well, you could get a job and you could get a job. He wasn't even qualified for the job, but he won. Right. He went through the process and he won. Now, the things that are Biden is a politician, lifelong. I mean, he's been in office since basically I've been born.
Yesterday.
Been in 48 years
48
yesterday.
Too.
I'm 51. He's been in politics like since I was a toddler. And so he said some things, he said a lot of things. He's been in a lot of different war rooms. He was definitely in the room, with Nixon and when they was, plotting out the war on drugs and how it was all gonna, come together, basically lock up drug addicts and all of that, because that's basically what they was doing, just targeting people who were eventually going to get hooked on drugs. And ironically, Oregon just passed a law the other day that it's okay for recreational marijuana, heroin, and meth use. So they're not going to lock them up. Yeah. Yeah, and they're not going to lock. And what? See, in New Jersey, they passed recreational marijuana. I know there's dispensaries there. I find it interesting though. Up here, see in the north, they say New York and New Jersey are kind of like outlier cities in terms of what's going on. Now we get everything, bro. Like it's not an outlier city. We just have more people, in the building, basically, for a metaphor.
Right.
But Kamala Harris, she did her job. I'll say this much. If you're a prosecutor and you're supposed to lock up people for various crimes and things, she did her job. Okay, so I don't knock her for doing her job. Right now, when you look at the whole scope of things, the things that people were disproportionately locked up for, it's marijuana, some small things, but look across the nation, black men are disproportionately locked up in general. So is she any different than the rest of the machine? Probably not. And remember, when she ran on her own for president, and then so she was running against Biden, called him a racist and all of that. She dropped out. She couldn't win on her own.
That's what I find. That's what I find the most interesting is if anybody remember that date, the debate, she gave it to Biden.
She gave it to Biden,
and the only one that was able to give it to her was Tulsi. And it's like, now you're working with them, and it's like, and one thing, and I'm one of them people that I vehemently do not like Joe Biden's policies. I vehemently do not like Kamala Harris's policies. But one thing I do say about both of them, and this is why I like both of them a little bit, they're unapologetic. They stand by their policies. Even when Biden is asked about his policies, the first thing he say is, well, the CBC agreed with me, and the 50 black mayors agree with me. Now, that's a whole different story when we can get into whether the CBC really represents who they're supposed to represent. But I think that it's interesting that they are very unapologetic, and they stand on what they did, and that's one of the good things. Let me ask you guys a question, though. I got one question for everybody. Maybe I'll ask her a question first. Julia said, what are you guys' thoughts in reference to the delay in the transition?
The delay? I don't know. I mean, it's always been a delay. We always wait to January to change power. Remember, the votes got to be counted. Let's not leave that out.
Right.
That's important.
No, it's Trump being Trump. She talking about some administrator that's supposed as soon as he basically just looking like he gonna be the president, they supposed to give him briefings and give him office space and give him resources, and they ain't gave it to him. So it's Trump being Trump.
I'm gonna ask you guys a question. I know y'all may catch hell for answering this question. What policies do you think, since Trump was in office, hurt the black community?
How about the reverse? What policies did he have, period? I mean, everything he did was executive orders.
Right.
He don't know nothing about politics. He just, if whatever he felt, he's like, well, then I'm just gonna make it an executive order, and not knowing that, all right, there's a what's the word? It's a process here, brother. Like, you don't just, even if you write an executive order, you still got to take it to to the Senate or the Congress for certain things, and he didn't care about that.
The reason why I asked that is because I'm always intrigued when people felt as though anybody but Trump, that mantra, and I always thought that was very dangerous.
Well,
because I always said to myself, like, are you sure? Because I never really realized what policies helped or hurt people as a whole. I know a lot of people always talk about, well, the kids in cages, that wasn't his policy. I think we need to. I just think that as voters, through all this, through what's going on, I hope that these two parties will stop perpetuating fear, like the world's going to end just because you want your candidate to be in there. Because I think this very dangerous. Like Brian mentioned, you really had people believing that it was going to be a civil war. I actually live in one of the reddest counties in Pennsylvania. It's no civil war. Nobody cares like that. Like, they care about their candidate, but at the end of the day, it's a process. He's fighting it in court, and that's that. He may go crazy per se, but ain't nobody gonna do nothing stupid. I know we allow the news to highlight certain individual situations, and now it's all over the place. People think, oh, it's a war. We're gonna be the Pride Boys. No, it's not.
Right. No.
It's political theater going on, and we allowing it to take over. So let me ask you a question, Tariq. Do you think that Biden and Kamala's presidency and vice presidency is going to be beneficial to, I gotta say, black people? People don't be wanting
they're gonna do the minorities thing, so you gotta say black.
Well, it's not for blacks. It's gonna be people of color.
Right, they're gonna do minorities.
Right? We gotta go there.
Do that.
It's nothing for us specifically. Right. That you can't do that.
Right.
But politically, they just can't do it.
They could do it.
They could do it, but they can't do it. Listen, they could, but they won't. That's what I'm glad you corrected. They will not do it. Okay, because it's an unwritten rule.
I'm gonna ask you, AC Grooms. I gotta ask you this, man. You're a little bit older than me and Tariq, by a couple years. Watching the world come full circle. You were one of them guys. You were one of them guys that we don't have to talk about your background and my background too much, but we've seen a lot of stuff in our little lifetime.
Yeah.
And we know the impact of Biden. One of the things where I tell people the reason why I couldn't vote for him was I was a direct result of the crime bill. And to see that those very same crimes right now is being decriminalized and all this stuff, and then now seeing this man become the president.
He apologized. Yeah. That's what people are telling. They told me, they said, look, he apologized for what he did. Okay, the damage is done. Like, the agenda has been fulfilled in that part. The private prisons blew up at the same time as the crime bill.
That was the weakness. That's what it was right there. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest problem in that.
Do you think that okay, yeah, he apologized, but do you think that it needs to be some type of form of reparations for that alone?
You know what he could do for the reparations for the crime bill? How about vacating all of the bullshit sentences that got given out?
How about that? At least that.
At the minimum, I just had that conversation with a friend of mine earlier. The crime bill, the crack law was 100-1, and Obama dropped it to 18-1 while he was in office. Okay, so Biden, you was there. Maybe you was in this air, maybe you wasn't. I don't know. But it dropped down to 18-1. If you want to fix it, you could never fix it. But if you want to move forward, then make it 1-1. Crack the cocaine. Because now with the states that are passing the recreational drug law, I gotta use Oregon because if you look at the demographics of Oregon, it's 98% Caucasian. So, you know, they got the opioid crisis. They're the ones using a lot of meth and crack and cocaine now, and it's okay now. Heroin, it's okay now because they're going to treat them. But our people were disproportionately locked up over the past 30 years. You got people that's just coming home, off of having 10 vials.
I don't think a lot of people. I think that it's not when we talk about the crime bill.
Let me say one thing about the crime bill too, though. There's another thing. We all after Biden, right? Like he was the one that passed it, but guess what had to happen?
He authored it
for that.
But
guess what had to happen?
He wasn't alone.
Guess what had to happen for the implementation, though? Your local jurisdictions had to turn you over to them. You understand what I'm saying? They had to decline you and turn you over to the federal statutes, and we letting all them people get away with it. We ain't holding none of them responsible, and none of them Democratic localities where I'm at, Baltimore. It's the same people that's in power right now that was in power in '94. And when they passed the law, it was really to tell the states that, listen, if you had these people who have their third felony and they got a gun, send them to us. We got 25 years for them. Half the time they kicking you out with 17. Listen, my brother, and like you said, you was a victim. My brother was a victim of it. He had 17. He wound up getting away with 10. But what they did, he beat the state case, and then the feds came in and did it. And it was both. It was the state and the local the state and the federal.
Federal has a 97% conviction rate too. Right. And Bernie Sanders was also one of the authors with Joe Biden. A lot of people don't know that. Right. So think about this. They was running in the last election. Hillary Clinton, her husband signed the bill. Okay. Right. But Sanders and Biden wrote the bill and Clinton signed it. And Obama picked him as his VP, but he did drop it down from 100 to 18. This is what I get all day for a whole 5-6 years. Well, at least they did this. At least they did that. What did they do? The damage is done.
My biggest issue about it is I think that a lot of people who haven't I'm not going to say they haven't been affected, because when you affect one person, you affect their family, right? You affect their community, and I think that a lot of people really, really haven't understood that you took a generation of people away, right? And I think that it does need to be. It's not talked about enough. Hopefully, during his presidency, he could clean it up, like we say, and try to fix and eradicate some of the problems because.
Because, right, what could you do for a person who done sat for 30 years? Like, what could you eradicated my sentence after I done sat for 30 years, or you got guys in there for life,
Well, one of the things
they died in prison,
one of the things that, and this is what I always try to speak of, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. When you go to prison, it ain't no guarantee that you're gonna come home. Whether you got 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. These guys that be having life, it's a rare breed of people that be doing 30 years. Definitely to come home sane and have their mind intact. Right. That's one of the things that even if you got a little bit of time, some guys get addicted to Thorazine. And it's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on. They wind up getting reclassified as having mental issues, and then they become a ward of the state where they'll never come home. Right. So I just think that it needs to really, really be some damage and things, some things in place going forward if they do get their election, if they do get
Let me say something.
certified as the president and vice president.
This is a thing too that bothers me about Kamala's from California, and I've been out in California back and forth here and there, and I know a lot of people out there. And when you go out there, right, and you realize, especially with the marijuana business, right, are there people like us that are involved in it? Sure. But it ain't us, okay? Like, it ain't us who's like with the farms, who's really cultivating, and like the people who are really turning the wheels of this thing, they're not getting these sentences. They're not getting into petty crimes where, they get this or third strike for having a pound of weed. They're not getting into these situations, right? And I find it ironic that now, with all of these laws opening up, and like, who stands to benefit? Well, it's the people who are always benefiting from the beginning. Like, it's not like, even if we can you guys don't have to worry about getting locked up for a joint no more. That's minuscule in the whole gamut of, the whole gamut of the actual crime and, the result of crime and all. The things that we're receiving right now, they're so small, and I understand why we would be happy to have them, because, people do what they do, and we're not judging anybody. But the relief that we're getting, it's still not proportionate, to
hey, Brian, one of the things that that Keisha always, when we have our conversations about the show and the platform, is that we try to listen to guys like you. You're a little bit younger than us, right? And the older guys are done. And what I mean by that is that we're the elders now, and we're getting to the point where we done seen it, and the only thing that we can do is pass it down. And it is a smack in the face.
Right.
Trust me, it's a lot of guys like myself that'll be like, I would never vote for Joe Biden. I mean, and that's how I felt. I believe that Bernie Sanders got robbed of the presidency twice, but that's a whole different discussion within the Democratic Party.
Right.
But it's a very interesting thing. I just think that speaking to that, what I just mentioned, going forward in that party, what do you think his cabinet is going to look like?
Listen, I know everybody was talking about AOC. So, I mean, really, this is why we got to turn it over to, and this is another thing about our unity, because I'm definitely, like, some of the progressive shit I'm just ain't with, right? So, listen, the worst thing, this is the couple other things. This is why this thing got so close, and why he was able to still bring in more voters. Defund the police, stupidest thing you ever heard, right? Tell people what it really is and explain it as that, instead of running around saying defund the police, and you got stupid ass people who just believe it, and you can scare them with that and be like, oh, we need the police. So you got that, and then the other progressive thing was the it slipped my mind, but universal income and shit like that. It's just certain things that ain't gonna fly. Oh, and it's just gonna run people away. And y'all, they running people to people like Trump. Just and you got and that's just messaging. Because I mean, I think I posted that one day. It's just like defund the police. You got to be able to explain it better than that, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't allow them to use that to scare people and the socialism, right? Whatever it is they kicking about socialism, and it just got to be better messaging. Even if you want to move toward those things or move, the thing is, you're never gonna get there. That's point blank period. For you to think that you're gonna get there is just stupid, right?
It's almost
You got half the country that don't think that. So what are
It's
you
all-
gonna do?
Tariq is almost amazing because we had the most voter out. Given if these votes are authentic, let's just say that because it might be some tricky stuff. You had
It's always
the
out.
biggest voter turnout in the history of the country, and that's both ways. Given that, Tariq, it's kind of amazing that the Democratic messaging was able to pull this off, because their messaging literally has been anybody but Trump. Some instances defund the police, which will never happen. They're never going to get rid of police. They try to use Camden, New Jersey. Listen, streets got to eat, man. Let's stop. Let's knock it off, man. There's so much crime going on in Camden that people.
I worked in Camden in 2004 when they first came out there to shut Camden down and federalize it. The streets was abandoned. It was a war zone. It just looked like one. It was horrible. Even the officers that was assigned out there, federal officers, they did not understand what was the purpose of them being out there. Like, you can't defund the police in this type of situation.
Right.
You can't do it. Now, I've seen a lot of trickery with the words that's been going on in the media too. Like, okay, if your department is a $40 million department and now it has 39 million, that's defunding. That's not defunding the police. That's moving money to another resource.
Right.
But we, they think that we're so stupid, and it's not even the age. Like, they think the older guys are stupid. They think the younger generation is stupid, and they just keep consistently trying to keep anybody that's under 21. They just trying to keep them dumb. Like, they don't even want them thinking.
But why hasn't anyone came out and, like, they scared, like, all right, so after the protests and the riots, right? So then they go, oh, do you see what's going on? And they losing control and they talking about defund the police. And it's like, why isn't any of y'all coming out to articulate and say that, listen, we're talking about stopping over policing? You understand what I'm saying? We're talking about taking some more, we talking about more effective policing. We talk about taking some of these resources and moving them into the community as opposed to having you over police us and treating us like animals, and then you getting people that's reacting like animals. You understand what I'm saying? So
one of the things
I don't know why.
One of the things they did, they and I was able to see a lot of both sides of the politicking, a lot of the ads. They pulled a major trick bag on the people.
Absolutely.
One of the things they did in the ads was, you can't have ads with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and all the people who was killed by police. Because number one, those incidents are separate. Those incidents don't have anything to do with the other one. And then you say at the end of the ad, vote. Because if we want to be objective, those crimes happened in particular areas with particular politicians. It's amazing that particular politicians be in those areas. And I'm not, listen, y'all know, anybody that watch me know I'm hard on the Democratic Party.
Right.
But the Democratic Party, for lack of better words, in these inner cities have done a piss poor job.
Of course.
Well,
objectivity is not obviously something that people are exuding right now. Okay, they're not showing that they can be objective and thoughtful. That's not where we're at as a demographic, and it's sad that we're there. Because
nobody.
You talk about defunding the police. The most funny part about the defund the police conversation is, right, you got politicians who ride around with 4 cops, like AOC, always with armed security. She's got people outside of her building. Defund the police. Like,
don't forget, she's for the look and a camera crew because she's all for attention.
Right. And the majority of the people who scream defund the police and what they think is defund the police cannot defend themselves, right? Like, they need, right? And I think that's interesting. That's an interesting dynamic that is present right now, is that people really think that this is a good idea. You know, like people think that this is going to somehow help their cause. Like, honestly, we had this talk the other day, cuz, about intentions and results of, right? What you intend, what you say you want to do, and what ultimately happens of what you intended to do are two different things, right? We can't, defunding the police, like your brother said, and Ken, that was a horrible idea, right? It was like, we've seen, right? Like, we don't want to really do that. Now, do we want to get some better policing? Do we want to get them to have more restraint or better training? Sure, absolutely. I don't think anybody with a brain is against that. But in the essence of the word and how it's being used, it's maddening. It's maddening.
See, Grooms, I gotta talk to you about this one. Let
me ask you a question. Do you think that anybody think it's ironic that in Portland, where there's majority of Caucasian people, they was out there actually protesting and fighting against the police, and you was hearing the defund the police narrative from Caucasian people?
I think that they
I thought it was weird.
I think that we won't tear shit up. I think that they will tear buildings down.
Oh, they was tearing shit up.
I really believe that one thing about black people and how we think is, look, we just want to if you pull me over, we don't want to get killed.
Right.
If you're asking me a question, just don't kill me. Just don't dog me out, as I would say, and get treated fairly.
Right.
And I think that that's one of the things that, when we get into talking about what our ancestors want, I think that's always been the black agenda. Treat me fair and equal, and just leave me alone. Right. But see, Grooms, I know when we talk.
But at this point, they owe us, though, after all the shit they done took for us from us after not leaving us alone. So the motherfuckers owe us.
Is reparations still on the table from them? I'm just asking. Is reparations still on the table?
I'll just tell you, I've been involved with the reparation movement myself for about the last 2 years. Got a bunch of friends I've met through it. It's not on the table because those two politicians didn't want to hear it.
They hemming and hawing. Every time you ask them about racism, systemic racism, and reparations, Kamala, she's a very good dancer. Biden, very good dancer. They know how to dance. Trump gave me some bullshit too, but he said, I did more for black people than anybody. That's what he ever said.
It may sound crazy. It may sound crazy, but you could get more out of Joe Biden prior to the election to say something about reparations than Kamala. Kamala Harris is a dancer. Right. She does the laugh. She gets around it, she was smoking weed. She was smoking weed at Howard, listening to Tupac.
She fake as hell.
Tupac He had the advanced copy of in 1986 Tupac album. She got juice for real.
See, Grooms, let me ask you a question though, because Grooms lives in the city, you guys. I just want you guys to understand that. The police was militarized probably early 2000s. And I think this is what people that don't understand, and if you live in the city, you live in certain parts of New Jersey, I like to say the police are real aggressive.
Very.
Seagroom, speak to that to people that don't really understand, like even how their approach to you, just.
Okay, when you're talking about the militarization part, because
just speak about that.
Okay, let's put it to you like this. Let's say you go. I'm trying to think of a street. Let's say you go on 34th Street. Have tourists. This, right. Because that's the money part of the city. 42nd, 34, 42nd, 59th. If you have officers out there with M16s, straight face, the vibe is a little different. Okay, than regular officers out there, chilling. All right, now. New York City is another place where you don't really have to drive around if you're in the city. If you're in Manhattan, you don't really have to drive around. So the police presence is not heavy in the areas where the tourists are there. They're like kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? They have a circumference Like if something happens within that circumference, the police will pounce on you. Okay, that's how it's set up. But if you live in the inner city, when you leave those pockets, police is everywhere. You got undercovers too. Like let's not forget about the plain clothes. I remember they talking about here we had the TNT, which is the tactical narcotics team. They used to jump out on people. You know, plain clothes. You didn't know whether they was officers or not. You know, until you kind of like got in the van or whatever. You know, and they was locking people up. They talking about they disbanded that unit when they just basically reassigned them. And then during the pandemic in Harlem, there was a couple of incidents, you know, late in the morning, people was outside, just violating curfew. It was like July. People was like, fuck that, we outside. And they was just doing whatever. And the cops was just sitting back like, well, we ain't writing no tickets because we ain't trying to get no lawsuits. Because there was a lot of that going on. You know, let's fall back from enforcing certain things. That's just what it looked like. So
even the police that got mad with Mayor De Blasio.
Oh, they hate De Blasio.
They don't like De Blasio. Where they basically, and like I always say, streets gotta eat. They wasn't arresting people.
They wasn't arresting people, but De Blasio has always the police. Let's put it like this: the union chief,
Pat Lynch.
Lynch, yeah, put his name out there. Lynch, he's the mouthpiece. And they may not agree with him, but the police union is strong. Everybody don't have to agree with you in your union, but you paying union dues. And I guess the rah-rah line is, you know, we put our lives on the line every day. You know, we out here on the front line. They'll tell you that quick. But, you know, the other side of the equation is correction officers are on the front line. Fire department is on the front line. EMTs on the front line.
Military.
Yeah, you know, but here we are. Let's put it like this. There's a difference between me going down the street, riding in my vehicle where I'm being profiled, right? The difference between me being in the driver's seat and let's say a Caucasian friend of mine, they're in the driver's seat and I'm a passenger. Like we might get pulled over because I'm a passenger. We might get pulled over because I'm a driver. So we're gonna get pulled over because it's me. You know, that's the feeling. And you just see the interactions with certain, it's not about complying and if you be respectful. There's different types of personalities that you're gonna run into. You might run into Mr. Cop asshole. You might run into the guy that's just say, hey, I just wanted to pull you over because your light was out. I wanted to pull you over because we was doing a random, you know, license and ID check. Right. Okay. You know, that's respectful. You know, I get that part. You're like, you also, where people ignore, tickets are revenue. Okay. Yeah. You have to generate revenue. Yeah. They do have a quota system. They tell you that. But people ignore that. So
how you going to defund the police? They got to make that money.
They got to make the money. You could try to defund the police. Nobody is ready for straight up lawlessness. Lawlessness and anarchy. Come on. Come on. We don't live in enough times. Come on. Even back in the days, looking at the history books, even in the 1800s, they had people that was authority. And I ain't talking about just the slave catchers and all that stuff, because everybody wasn't a slave. You know, that's another narrative that, you know, gets painted out there, you know, which I'm not against the movements that's out there. You know, American descendants of slaves, foundational Black Americans, like I get it. Right. I get it. But once you start doing that, who is who? How far back are you gonna go to verify who you say you are?
All they gotta do is go back to Black Wall Street.
1921?
It'll be enough money. You understand what I'm saying? Go back to the things that you can actually document. Right?
Oh, then you know what? When you did that for the Jews, we talking trillions. We talking trillions.
That's right. You went back to the Jews and you pulled back all of their things. If they could prove anything that got stolen from them, you go around the world looking for it for them.
I guess we all go all get a nice big check if they.
That's all they got.
Did they just spend $3 trillion for the pandemic?
Right.
And that's for
They
everybody.
got it. They got it. When
They got it, right? So then print it, baby.
They printing the shit
check.
anyway, right?
Look,
Right.
hey, look, it might be backed by thin air, but they got it right.
Hey, so
Well,
what?
it don't matter.
We playing the same
spent
game they playing. Shit.
Did we spend it?
And
They
listen,
spending it too.
let me ask you guys something. And I always I don't believe in happenstance or coincidences. So now, if this thing that the president hasn't decided to concede, and he's suing the states, what are you guys' opinion if the Supreme Court gets involved, man? It's like
the Supreme Court
They
is
gonna get
already involved.
It's just
They're already involved. They're waiting.
Yeah, they made a ruling. They made a ruling a month ago that had an effect on the votes in Pennsylvania. And one thing that I want to say before I let you gentlemen answer is, I always laugh at the people who are so pro-right or so pro-left when they talk about the Supreme Court, and they'd be like, well, you know what was going on this summer with Amy Coney. Oh, he's packing the court. If you look at their rulings, even with them being pro-right, their rulings don't always be pro-right.
Right.
And I think that
Clarence Thomas.
one of the things that people
well, yeah, Clarence Thomas pretty bad though.
And then no opinions about nothing. Just
he'll dissent and be like, I don't want to get involved in it.
Right.
One of the things that people don't realize is that how, if the Supreme Court gets involved, how this could play a major effect on their ruling.
Right.
They're going to crush the people. Everybody's out there dancing.
Dancing. Now listen, hold on. It might not be a civil war, but there will be violence and there will be people.
Of course.
I won't even go that far for a civil war.
No matter
but
what happens,
hurt.
there will be violence and there will be people in the street.
Seagrams, explain to the audience who sits on the Supreme Court and their significance to this case.
Well, okay, we had discussed that earlier. I don't want to butcher this man's name. I keep forgetting his name.
Gorsuch.
So you got Gorsuch, you got Kavanaugh, and you got Barrett, right? So they've all got confirmed to the Supreme Court through Trump administration. Now, but the irony is that those same three people were on the legal team when Bush challenged the election with Gore. They were part of his legal team. So now you have a precedent. You already had a precedent before the Gore and Bush thing, but now you have the three people who successfully challenged the election and won. Right. Now they're sitting in the Supreme Court on an election that Trump is going to challenge. Because forget all the other issues about dead people voting and all that. Just because you can challenge it, they have to count all the votes. And it was close. And that's the power of the people that are in the city, in masses, coming out and basically outvoting the people that live around them. That's where your vote count, in populace.
But check this out. Ain't this ironic? It's the same thing. Stop counting. They got Al Gore wanted to count. They got him. That was the win. They got him to stop counting. It's the same thing Trump wanted him to do. So but the question
he brought that up. Stop counting.
The question is, when should they have stopped counting?
I'm gonna ask you guys another question.
Right.
Do you guys? And we don't know. We're just speculating. But it's just interesting how these same people, life, politics, their life. We may think that it's a grand scheme of things, but no, it's a very small world. One of the things that that's interesting is then you got Justice Clarence Thomas sitting there, and it was a senator that dug in his butt when his confirmation hearing was going on, and his name was Joe Biden.
Right.
Yeah.
You
think he gonna forget that? You think he forgot that?
Anyway.
No, he ain't gonna forget.
He ain't forget that.
He ain't forget that, but luckily for Biden, it won't be just on Clarence Thomas. He may have, So one of the things just to piggyback off of what you were just saying about the guys the three judges that Trump appointed. I think there is something to be said about being a defense attorney and an attorney and then being a judge. You have to it's like wearing two different hats. Now, the angle you would try to take if you were this or that one, but I think it's something to be said about being an appointed judge and what you can do and what you can't do. Now you can play it by the book,
Right.
you know, and play it close to the vest and be like, you know, well, it's right is right. You know, that's what
Listen,
they
they not going.
How did
People
Bush
don't
win
want to go
then?
down with Trump. But
One of the things,
let me
one of
just
the
say
things
this
that I
on
try
his
to
point.
do is,
Oh, okay.
hold on, Tariq. One of the things that I try to do is when the justice made some decisions in the summer, I'm one of them people that like to look at their opinion and read it, and you'll be very if you're not a left-leaning or right-leaning person, and you're able to look at this stuff objectively, these people legally they earned every right to be a justice.
Right.
Because some of their opinions are very, they're in depth and they stick to your argument.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if his lawyers go in there with an argument, they could see some wrongdoing. But if his lawyers don't bring it up,
right,
they're not going to invest. Their job is not to investigate.
They're not going to do your job.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
They're only going to talk about the merits of what you bring.
Very interesting perspective of what can happen. And I'm quite sure that a lot of people that's left, if we go to the Supreme Court, before they even make a decision, they're gonna be going crazy.
It's just,
don't make no mistake
about everything.
There will be a challenge, and it will go to the Supreme Court. I mean, it's not. There's precedence. You know what's going to happen when it gets there. You don't really know because all the evidence going to come out. I'm going to tell you that whatever the issues are with the voting process, it's going to come out. Listen, and then they're going to recount. They're going to recount the votes.
He only has to prove one vote. See, that's the tricky shit, right? He's only got to prove it happened one time for us to recount everything. So, like, it's not going to be a quick thing. Like, now,
shout out to content creators because we got some stuff to talk about the next month or so.
Right. Like, there's going to be an interesting, like, how it plays out is not, I don't think it's going to be quick. You know, I don't think it's going to be like, to be fair, I don't know if he's going to get inaugurated on January. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I agree with you, Brian. I agree with you 100%.
You know, and
I don't see inauguration on the 20th. I don't see it.
I don't see it. And that is where I think where we'll start seeing the trouble. I think right now people are they're going to be happy, you know, everything. The media is telling them what they want them to hear, and everybody's going to be kind of relaxed. But once he doesn't get inaugurated, I think that's when people are going to start to panic. Either way, you know. Now, that's when the issues are going to start coming in. Now, man, you know, as civil war, I don't think it'll be a civil war. I think there will be, I honestly believe there'll be factions inside of specific groups that'll fight. I don't know if it'll be civil like back in the sense of back in the day where it's black and white. You know, I don't think it'll be that type.
I don't think it's black and white either. I don't think.
No, I don't think
and they're having just want to make a program note. DC this weekend. It's called the Mega Man March. It's going to be trying to get 1 million people at the mall in Washington to support Trump for 1 million people. So
really,
$1 million,
$1 million.
Yeah,
it's called the Mega Man March.
Oh no!
And believe it or not, it's interesting. I don't know if you guys ever really talked to a devout Trump supporter. They're really nationalist. They really just believe in America. They don't believe in what the media will make them out to all be racist, and they're not all racist.
Right.
Let's get that straight. They really just believe in not having China and these other foreign countries in our pocket. They believe in immigration, that it needs to come to a halt, and they need, more jobs for the people. And I think that
do they believe in systematic racism?
Not some of them understand it.
So what part of immigration do they agree with? Because many of them are immigrants.
Yeah, well,
historically,
we know historically.
We know what it is.
I'm just talking about Trump.
A lot of them don't understand that the classification of people changed in the early 1900s. That they were once not even considered white. They're not even. Some of them are Anglo-Saxons, so they don't even understand that. So,
right.
I just think that a lot of times with that machine, that media machine, in my personal opinion, they've done so much damage in this country the last, let's say, 12 years. to our people, and we've always was taught like, yo, don't trust the media. I will tell everybody, if you get some independent media sources, if you watch the news, get some balance, because it's not really news. It's their opinion most of the time, and they're going to sensationalize it, and they're just
Some
going to
people
make
don't even know the difference.
Corporate. It's corporate. Remember, 7 corporations control all 90% of the media.
When
7
Trump
corporations
getting in, and he was talking, we were Bannon and all of those guys. All right. One of the things that, again, I'm not a Trump supporter, but there are some things that I agree with Trump. I listen, if you want to call me a nationalist, I don't believe in illegal immigration. I don't think we should be letting another soul come in this country. We can't take care of our own citizens. So, like, I'm one of those guys who see why they're letting the illegal immigrants flow through. I think our voting block will be replaced in 10 years. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're gonna replace them with who? The guys that they're letting come through. This is the one thing about illegal immigration too. There's only one way you coming in. You're not coming in from the East Coast, the West Coast. You're only coming in from a specific region of the country for the most part. There obviously are other people who get in illegally from different places, but they aren't really the issue. They're not the problem of
right.
We're talking about with illegal immigration. But Trump, back to what I was saying, Bannon had it was the war on misinformation, and they said that was the biggest threat to the country at the time. And you see it 4 or 5 years later, it's playing out like that because people will just believe anything you put out there. They won't fact check it. And even some of the fact checking mechanisms that some of these platforms have are false or they're biased. You know what I'm saying? So
the fact checkers be wrong. Right.
So there's no way to verify, and we consume it so fast that, by the time you've already heard it and listened to it and now you remembered it, it's already inscribed in your brain as fact, and that's very, very dangerous. And we see how it's coming to play out in a multitude of different ways right now. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So that's for me, that's what we got in terms of what we want. Like in terms of politics, we just got to stop thinking like everyone else and stop just like he's saying, believing anything and everything that someone says. You know what I mean? And so it's just crazy how these people, especially when these social media platforms, and I'm assuming this is how people conducting themselves in real life, it's how they regurgitate so many of these talking points. No thought behind it, and they can just and it don't matter. So for me, it's like we just got to learn how to be independent thinkers, man, and to find our solutions.
It's hard.
We ain't gonna find it in any of the constructs of the Democrats or the Republicans.
I laugh at it because it's funny, because a person will get on social media and regurgitate all that fear crap, but then go to work the next day with the same very people that they're supposed to be scared of.
Right.
That's right.
Like that, it doesn't make much sense because
and then
I think that me living where I live at now, it's giving me a different perspective on what's being told and what's not, what's the reality of. And don't get me wrong, I'm quite sure in this area it is a lot of. You see it. You see it. You gotta watch that word. Watch that word. You gotta you see it. But the thing about it is, everybody's trying to live their life. Right. Everybody's going about their business, going to work, take care of their family. Like I done been in an instance where these guys hold the door open for me, and I know who they are because you can see the vehicle they got. But their premise is, look, like I said, they just trying to live their life, and it's amazing how fear has been part of these campaigns. I mean, one young lady said to me the other day on the page, she said, I voted for who I thought was going to win. And it took me back because I'm like, That's the only
Based
reason why you
on
voted.
based on what?
Exactly. And then she said, "Oh, it's a two-party
It does
system."
do it
It's not
matter?
it's actually not a two-party system. I mean, whether people realize that the Green Party do get votes, the independent candidates do get votes. It's just a matter of whether a group of people would be willing to vote for that. And I do think that a lot of times, and we've been known for this, voting against your best interest.
Yes.
Like the way I vote is not the way that you guys should be voting that live in different areas. And I think sometimes people don't
Right.
realize that I'll tell you, Grooms, you got to vote Democrat straight down the board. Nah, that might not be advantageous for his
That doesn't work.
situation.
You know, I vote agendas. I mean, I'm independent anyway, but you know, I have to. All right, this is the part of the process that I think that bothers me the most. There's nothing wrong with being a Democrat or a Republican, right? Now that's on the outside looking in. But once you look at everything for what it is, it's kind of like the people are supposed to decide what's good for us, right? So why are you telling us who our candidates are? Why is the parties putting these people in place to say, all right, these are the people that you can vote for in the primary? It shouldn't work that way. It should be, we should be able to vote as people. Everybody's just voting who get the most votes. And then we could say, all right, we're going to vote for this person or that person, regardless of party. By the time we get to the primaries, they done told us who we supposed to be voting for.
Right.
Like you picked them. I didn't pick them.
It's interesting because I know that the DNC does it. I'm quite sure that the RNC does it too.
Everybody,
like,
they do.
Like Seagroom spoke about, like for example, if a person passes away in a particular area, the party, the national party actually comes in and pumps up a particular person. They may not even be popular in the area. That's how Rashida Tlaib, she took over John Conyers' seat because she was Muslim, and that's a heavy Muslim area in that part of Detroit, in Michigan. And she basically took John Conyers' seat, and his politics is so different from hers because he was the very face of HR 40 who was pushing reparations. So they should have got somebody that knew his politics,
right,
and got him up. But to speak to that, Seagrooms, you're exactly right, and that's a great point because we, to a certain extent, we're being forced to choose people that we don't even agree with.
Right.
I mean, just from the choice standpoint, like, well, who are these people? Like, you find out after, all right, the Democratic Party said this, the Republican Party said this, the Independent Party has their people. Like, but the Republic for which it stands, which is supposed to be, the Republic is supposed to be the people. So we supposed to be voting in our best interest. If you telling me this is how we ended up with the debacle that we have. I mean, look, we had Trump. All right. Then before that, we had Obama. Okay. Now look what we got again. We got Biden and Trump. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, for you, like what you said, brother, I could not vote for Biden. Okay, just because of the era that I came from and the devastation that it did to the community that I lived in and others. And look, he apologized. Okay, I get it. But because of that, it's way deeper than just, oh, he apologized for the crime bill, or y'all should be committing crimes. No, people did real time that were falsely arrested. How about that? Nobody wants to talk about that.
Isn't that one of the most ironic things that people say, well, yeah, like you said, he apologized for it,
He apologized.
Like,
why do we keep doing that? I'm asking you. We get killed, we march, we pray, we forgive, we repeat the same cycle. We forgive everybody. You don't have to be black.
Do that.
We embrace everybody. Oh, you wear Chuck Taylors and Timbs? Oh, we love you. You're like, come on, man.
We love running interference for foolishness.
We do.
At the end of the day, anybody that has a problem with the Joe Biden and Kamala ticket, it should not be, well, Trump ain't no better. It should be, if they got a problem with that ticket, they got a problem with that ticket. Point blank. Because if you say, and this speaks about what Tariq had mentioned when we was talking behind the scenes, that very statement alone is voter suppression. Because now you're telling me who I should be voting for, or
Right.
telling me who I shouldn't be voting for. You have a right to vote for whoever you want to vote for. You can even put your own name in there if you wanted to.
That's semantics, man. That's the
Yeah.
little wordplay. That's the trickery. You can vote for whoever you want to vote for, but like we all know how that doesn't work, right? Just we all know that, like you said, we're not in a two-party system, but effectively it's a two-party system. They don't even allow all the candidates to come to debates. So, like, how is that not voter suppression? Like, how is that in our best interest? And people don't see it like that because, again, a lot of these things, listen, we've been indoctrinated to believe a lot of this stuff. And, again, you could have a conversation and the four of us could go out independently and have conversations with these people and bring them nothing but facts, and they will answer you with nothing but opinion, and like that's just where we at as
Been there, brother.
That's where we
I have
at.
a friend. I have a friend I met, and I interviewed him on the page a couple times. He ran a campaign in Tennessee, the second district congressional campaign. Less than $100.
$100?
Less than $100.
Wow.
Crazy.
Okay. Wow.
Less than $100 to run his campaign. Now, could you imagine? Like he told me, he was going against a millionaire Republican. He's independent. He was going against a millionaire Republican. She was backed by the president. She had a lot of political power. They wouldn't even debate with him.
Right.
Yeah, that's because they say that he was beneath them.
Yeah, they would not debate with him. He didn't raise enough money for a debate. Well, what happens when the money's left? What happens when, and y'all know this is another gimmick they got going on, another scam. What happens when the money is not used? Where does that money go? You can't put it in your pocket.
Right.
Where does it go?
You want me to tell you where it goes?
Yeah, tell the people where it goes, please.
Break it down. Listen, listen, people don't understand how, again, this is kind of my strong suit. When you start to create LLCs and private corporations and all these type of loopholes, it goes right back to the people you think it's not going to, right? Now, how they get it, I'm not well versed in all of that, but I understand how corporations work. And again, behind every corporation, there is a person. Right, this is how the paperwork don't get filled out on its own. This is how these things work, right? It goes back to the people. Again, people will say, Maxine Waters. Again, I'm not saying anything bad about it. Okay, she works in one of the poorest districts in California, right? How does she have a $10 million house? How did that work? How does that work out? How do congressmen and how do representatives, how do they get paid? How do you think they live the lives that they do? How do you think Barack Obama came in? Again, he had other stuff going for him, obviously, but
he wrote the book too. He wrote the book.
Listen, there's a lot of people who wrote books, right? Like, okay, like it don't work like that. Okay?
No, but that's
LLCs, corporations are, first of all, corporations and people are separate legally.
Right.
As long as you keep the money separate. So it don't matter who the president of a corporation is per se. It's about the corporation. See, corporations talk to corporations. It don't matter who formed it.
Right.
And, when you start looking at the campaign money, even that is a corporate entity.
Right.
This fund. So you could put your money, you're like, all right, you got 40 million left over. Well, where's it gonna go? You know what? I'll send $1 million to this corporation, 20 million to that corporation. Right. I guarantee you that I'm gonna get a check off of one of them corporations.
Let me ask y'all something. So this is what they've been talking about on the news recently. Is in the aftermath, let's say Trump lose. In the aftermath, where he gonna be at? What he gonna be doing? What type of influence he gonna have? Right? Is the state of New York gonna go after him on campaign finance? Right? What happened if they do? What happened if they put him in jail? What happened?
I personally believe that would be the worst thing that they could ever happen.
Hey, listen,
Is
They
them
won't
to
do that.
them to charge a former president with a
Former
crime.
president,
They gotta
they won't
make
do
it.
it. You know
I
why they
think that-
can't do it? You know why they can't do it, Tariq?
Yeah.
Because now when he took that office, and he know literally where
right?
all his bodies is buried.
Yes,
He in the office.
right.
So if you going to throw him under the bus, the
Right.
type of
They gotta
personality
make a
that
deal
he is,
on that.
nah,
No.
ain't gonna be no deal.
But you
He
know, a
gonna
lot of
tell
people
on
think that
everybody.
he's going to jail. He's going to jail.
He's not.
Like,
Listen,
damn,
go
he
to
gotta-
jail.
All right, if he going to jail, then you're gonna see about 1,000 other people going to jail with him, and you go. Then we will have a new government.
He's
Believe me.
actually, if he does lose and the Supreme Court doesn't side with him or whatever, Trump is actually going to be more famous than we have to remember 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. 74 million people voted for Biden.
People.
How many did
These
Obama
people
get?
got-
They both beat Obama.
They
in
both
voting,
got
right?
more
69.
votes than President
69.
Obama.
They both
Which is-
beat Obama.
They both beat Obama. Yeah.
which makes you think,
Mm.
if you into things and looking beyond what they tell us, it makes you really think like something funny happened, because that's a lot of votes and that's a lot of people.
Forget
But let me-
jail. He won't even step in a courthouse. Like,
Yeah.
that ain't even.
He's definitely not going to jail,
I'm-
but he could take down
Right.
the whole government with him.
The
Okay.
being the president affords you a lot of things that normal people don't have, and a lot of knowledge, like you said. We know
it's
a lot
amazing.
of things that we don't know about a lot of people now that he's president. That would be probably one of the most
They gonna have-
insane.
they'll make a
traumatizing
deal
moves
with
you
him.
can pull.
Bring back those journalists that were real investigative reporters, because I don't know if you guys know, and I'm quite Seek Rules, I know you be on this stuff, man. There is no such thing as the Clinton Foundation no more. So
Well, why is that? Companies dissolve all the time.
Right.
So how do you dissolve a company? What is the last thing that you're going to do before
Bankrupt.
you officially dissolve it? Right? You even got to bankrupt it. You gotta if you have shareholders or investors, you make sure everybody get their money,
Right.
and then you shut it down. You write a letter to the state that you incorporated in. It's over.
Right.
Like a lot of people don't. It's real basic. It's not semantics. Like you're talking about corporations. I mean, this country is a corporation. I mean,
Right.
we have a president. We all live here. We all voted, but then we don't actually vote them in. There's that's crazy to me.
Right.
See,
But it's
Rules,
written that way.
I want to ask you something that you said, and I think this is interesting, because I know that some of the states, they said some of the states printed their own ballots. The thing with this watermark thing,
Oh yeah.
and I don't know if this is serious, but it's been talks of that cyber crimes unit kind of got alerted to some stuff, and they put out some watermark ballots, and let's just say allegedly, for the sake that
allegedly. Right?
this could be allegedly happen. If this is proven and this really happened, what do you think is
We'll never know. The people, they're not going to tell the people that that's what happened. They got a story for us, but it won't be that. Oh, they was fake, because states were, first of all, the states can do what they want, because that's why we're states. They have their own authority.
Right.
This is why I was saying earlier that Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Virginia, and Kentucky, they voluntarily are part of the United States. That's written in stone. But people don't look at that. They just figure, oh, they could, they part of the United States. They could print their own damn ballots if they want. And you could all right, when you go to the store and you come in there with your dollar bill, and you might have got it at the ATM. Right there in front of the cashier. Pull out a 20 or 50. They put it up in the light, right? They got to look for that watermark. The ballots have a watermark. You think there ain't somebody right now, some smart ass genius person that, you know what? The ballots came early. Remember, they mailed it to your house. You don't think somebody could replicate that?
yeah?
Without the watermark. I'm saying, forget the watermark. Can you replicate a piece of paper?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that's why
they were saying it was like a digital watermark. I don't think now that's where it's gonna
that's different. That's a blue light situation.
Right.
They gotta do that though. They got. If you have an official ballot, whatever that official ballot is, you got. Then you got the state level. Okay, the states have ballots, especially for the Congress and Senate, the local. Maybe they, but I know it's all on one paper. Right. That's for the mail-in. But when you go in, if you go into the booth, I don't think that's the issue. That's not what they have in the issue. The issue is the mail-in ballot. What's an official ballot?
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course they got alerted because 150 million people voted.
Right. You would think that in 2020, and I know that a lot of times people think at a certain age this stuff should be far-fetched, but you would think the voting process would be a lot easier. But we got to understand that people that commit crime and people that commit fraud, for example, they always are 10 steps ahead of the game
all day.
Like, and one thing about paper, like we're saying with ballots, is paper is it leaves a fingerprint, so to say. It leaves a print. They can track what press it was written on, what printer, everything. It could be tracked.
What room in your house? They got the IP address, all of that.
Exactly. So going forward is very interesting how this is going to be looked at.
It's going to be crazy. How it all plays out is crazy because look, mail-in ballots ain't new, but when you start looking at, all right, when you say bigger picture, there's a lot of stuff going on. All right, Trump want to open up the states. He don't care about COVID. Like, all right, and Biden and Harris is like, nah, we got to lock it down. It's other countries that are locking it down again. Then you got the they got the vaccination thing. They talking about. Now, here's my issue with that. It's okay to bring out a vaccination, but it's only 2 years into the testing stage. It should take 5 to 10 years before a vaccination is even thought to be used on people. But you have something in play right now. So what that tells me, being, using my own brain, like how science works, that means you was working on this 5-6 years ago when Obama said that there was a pandemic coming. And he put a team in place and Trump disbanded that team. So maybe 5 years ago, they was working on a virus, the vaccination for the virus, because they already knew what was coming.
Of course.
Because we always, you're like, you don't just get a disease. You have to see how it works on people.
Right. It's been patented. So I mean,
you see, that's the thing. All the diseases that we ended up, all right, we see when you go look in the records, paper trail, it's patented.
Right.
It's a biological chemical warfare. That's what it's used for.
Trump's biggest mistake with this whole COVID thing, and this is how he probably could have won the election easily, right? Mm-hmm. Was that he didn't treat this like a crime, right? When this came out, if you know anything about viruses and virology and all of this stuff, there's genetic markers in it, right? And all of that. Remember the first story they tried to get us that the Chinese people were eating out of the farmers market and all of that crazy nonsense. And once people started getting more into the story, people weren't really accepting that story. Okay, they had to give you a little bit more information. Okay, well, there's genetic markers of AIDS, malaria, all types of things that cannot come together in a virus that are in this virus. Okay, now Trump, if he was smart, now he's a smart guy when it comes to business, but this is why he's not a smart politician. He should have treated this like a crime scene. Okay, well, we know what it is. So where did this come from? That person should have been under, whoever had it, you going to jail. Okay, because now we're going to follow the paper trail, right? Because it had to come from here. It didn't come from thin air. So we had to follow the steps. What Trump did, and obviously I think they know a little bit more. I think there is some truth to what he was saying as far as, if you're a healthy person, you're probably not going to die from COVID. Okay, you're probably not going to die, But obviously, we can't stop it. Now, if you want to go through how we're going to deal with it, where everybody's going to get it, and then everybody, we have the herd immunity. I think that's probably the angle he was listening to. That's one way, but that's where he lost it. Okay, when he stopped treating it like, when he started to go along with what the media was saying and all of those things, that's where he lost the handle of it, because he should have treated it like that. Now, if he treated it like that, he would have a lot more leverage today, because he would have been following steps. Once he started going all over the place, and that's just kind of, I guess, how he is. You're a rich white man. You do whatever you want to do. You don't listen to your gut a lot of times. That's kind of what made him who he is. That's where he lost. You're dealing with all of these people if you were I ain't gonna say conspiracy theorist, if you some guy who looks a little bit deeper into things and you believe in deep state and all of that stuff, if you're not willing to play on that level, how these people playing, if he tried to become a politician with the COVID, and like that wasn't gonna work, and that's where he lost. Okay, so like this whole, like we said, back to the genetic markers and following the thing. There's a trail of where this thing came from. And being that they're already trying to push a vaccine, it looks like this is part of an agenda. To somebody who wants to see it like that, it looks like this is being rolled out, like right in front of our eyes. Like, how convenient, like, Saturday we get president-elect, and Monday, we got news of a 90% efficacy rate in a vaccine.
Or for 2-year trial, it's only you're supposed to run a trial with the placebos and all that. That's a 5-year deal.
Right.
So let's say we accept that minimum. So let's say we accept that. We accept the fact that, all right, this vaccine is here. So we got to use our brain to say, all right, then this was out in 2015. They was working on it. Tell us that then. Tell us that this virus was in other areas, and that you lost control of it. Trump is not going to take the blame to say, oh, well, the proof is in, you fired the whole cabinet, that was in charge of controlling the the problem, the pandemic that was coming down the pike. Obama told you it was coming. So how does he know? He gave you a gem.
Right.
Yo, it's coming. We need to prepare. We need to build up our immune system, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So now people that did come down with an infection, they were dying from, they had, a lot of them, they had secondary causes. The ventilators killed a lot of people.
Yeah, listen, we haven't heard the word ventilator in 6 months, right?
Yeah, because they got all their bread off the ventilators. They already got their money for that. But the ventilators killed, because the natural process of breathing is your lungs are supposed to ventilate, on their own.
Right.
The ventilators don't do that. They suppress and crush, so, but it was a lot of money with that stuff. Right. So, but then
let me ask you guys,
there's so much going on.
We talk about how they were able to politicize this virus, and you got millions of people in this country that blame the president for not telling the people, which I think is interesting, because myself, I believe that if I voted for you and you're my leader, I don't think you're supposed to tell me everything. I think that some of the things are supposed to keep secret. Do you guys think that going forward, like, are we gonna hold? And this is something with the media too. If Biden and Kamala Harris are, after all is said and done, are the president and the vice president, do you think the people and the media are going to hold them just as accountable as we've held President Trump?
No, they don't have to, because Trump was supposed to be the worst. So they already have a built-in excuse. Well, we're fixing his stuff.
Right.
We're doing this.
But that's always their excuse. That was even for Obama, like his first 4 years. Oh, he's got to clean up Bush's mess. He's got to be the custodian. That's always their play. And I think that, again, it's shocking to me that people don't see that. Now, again, I'm not going to speak on presidents before that because I'm 36. That was a lot. That was before my time. You know, the first time I got to vote was after 9/11. I was 2002. I was 18. That was the first time I voted. So a lot of things that happened before that and the process, maybe you guys could speak more to that than I can. But since I've came into voting, this is a cycle. It's truly a voting cycle, right? The same things are happening. When we get to a certain point, the same things are happening over and over again. The only thing that's different about this cycle is that he only got one term, right? As of now, everybody's got 2 terms and everything's worked out the same way. Oh, he's clean. That's their excuse. Do we have no way to hold them accountable? Because number one, we're not together. So there's no way to hold them accountable. We're all fractured and splintered. So there's no way that we could be mad as hell, but if we ain't gonna go vote together, if we're not gonna hold our economics together, if we're not gonna practice those type of things, we have no way to hold them accountable. We're just gonna be upset, and they know.
We need the agenda. We need the agenda. We need to say what are the things we're gonna agree upon, and what are the things, and how is it that we accomplish those things that we want to accomplish. I don't know. We can't do that for some reason. I don't know.
They got to lift every voice and sing. They got it. It's in writing now. Hold them accountable to that. I mean, at least let that be a starting point. I gotta throw it out there, just because if you're gonna start somewhere, they put it out there. They threw us a bone. Hey, there won't be no reparations, but lift every voice and sing. I think when the last time we had a 2-term. I mean, 1 term. That was Bush in '88.
That was
right after Ronald Reagan. Reagan did 88, right? CIA Bush. So then Bush did 88 to 92, and then he left, and then it was Clinton and Bush twice again, and Obama twice. Like, this is what we do.
Let me ask you, one of the questions, like Tariq spoke about the agenda. Lift every voice and sing, which the Biden agenda for Black people, if you do look into it, is really for minorities. It's not specifically saying Black people, and even use the word lift every voice and sing. And I'm gonna say it again. That's disrespectful to Black people.
It is.
It's disrespectful for people to be running around here with Kamala Harris picture next to Ruby Bridges silhouette. We gotta get off this symbolic stuff and get these tangibles, man. And get these tangibles. I know that it's been said. I know that the brother Tariq Nasheed always mentions tangibles. But what's going to happen, unfortunately, is that if Biden and Kamala Harris do finally get the presidency, we're going to see people that campaign for them. They're going to get nice media plus jobs.
Yep.
But we're speaking about the little people. We're speaking about the tangibles that's going to directly affect the communities that put them in office. Like Tariq said, is Atlanta going to still be trying to run around with their chest puffed out like it's Wakanda? Are they going to get the results for voting for Biden?
They got their results, right?
Philadelphia is highly Democratic, the city. But Philadelphia is a war zone right now, definitely with that last shooting. In other cities, Detroit, #1 populated Black big city in the country. Detroit is poor. Let's get something straight. I don't know if anybody ever been to Detroit. Detroit was poorest places. It's like Camden. It's a bigger Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah.
So I say that. I asked you guys the question, how can we hold them accountable? Can we hold them accountable? And it's like every election cycle, like they come and pimp us for our votes, and then they go back to DC and don't even care.
Well, one thing we got to understand, right, is...
Let me...
Okay, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead, and then I'm going to follow you up. Go ahead.
My point is this. And in a lot of ways, we can't... we're never going to come to a consensus on what it is. You know what I mean? We have that diverse thought. I like people voting Republican and people voting independent, especially us, because then they're not able to pigeonhole and say, oh, they're going to like us. They're really going to have to look for ways to say, that okay, I've done this specifically for black people, because they're not going to be able to just look at one particular thing and say, oh, this will pacify them. You'll have to look for real solutions if we had that real diversity of thought, whereas you can't just throw something out there and say, oh, this is what y'all asking for, or you know, the sky is what you're giving us what we want when it's really not. You'll really have to look for good solutions if we not a monolith and expecting everybody to have the same way of thinking. That's just that's just the way I'm thinking about it.
All right, well, okay, now white Caucasians, okay, they're not a monolith either, right? They come all different types of ways, right? But one thing they all benefit from, obviously, is what we know as to be as white privilege, right? They all pretty much understand that, right? So like sometimes, you know, you got the ones who they try to paint Republicans as, you know, like I said, racist or this or that. But that's not necessarily true. There's all different types of Republicans, just like there's all different types of Democrats. But again, one thing that they don't do is vote against a lot of their interests. Now, with us, one thing we need to understand, okay, here's how it works. Capitalism runs this country, right? Greed, capitalism, that's at the highest level of this country, right? The 1%ers, however you want to label it, that's at the highest percent, okay? Then you have right under the capitalism is the politics, right? Okay. Now, right under the politics, you have the economics. Okay.
Hold on, where the church at?
The church.
I'll let you know what the church is when you finish.
Okay. Now, what drives the politics is the economics, right? Now, what we have to learn is that if you don't have no money, you ain't gonna make no demands. This is just how this country works, right? We're not gonna get out unless we're willing to tear this thing down. You're not gonna get out there and get on TV and vote these people to change who they are. You have to have some type of money that makes them move. Somebody has to lose something for you to gain something. That's the cycle of economics. I have to give you money and I get something back. Now I lose the money, but I gain this, right? This is how business transactions work. All of that is 1 to 1, here, boom, boom, boom. That's how it works, right? Now, if we don't have to agree on everything, right? But we should all agree that the majority of our people are economically deprived. We should be able to get on page with that, right? Now, if we could vote together based on that, we could, and I know it's far-fetched and all of that, but this is the only way that we're going to make a dent in the politics game. Okay, we have to vote together. We don't have much time left, but we got to vote together, no matter who it's for. If it's for a Democrat, if it's for a Republican, if it's for an independent, we have to move together, and our money has to move together.
And that speaks.
Asians in this country are able to get things done because they move together. We don't know who they vote for. They don't say it. They be quiet, but they do what they do. They practice that inside their group. They get a whole group of them. They open a business. They all work there. They all live in the same house. Now, again, we're from here, so we don't have to move like that, but they all move together with solidarity. So they're able to accomplish things even though they don't have the majority. We're never going to be the majority. We're never going to agree, but we have to agree on that. That's something that's non-negotiable. Like, we cannot just continue to go out here.
We have to go get our own candidates.
We don't need our own candidates
and stop letting them give us candidates all the time. Let's take somebody and build them up. And let them be our candidate for real.
All right, so for Tariq's plan, for that to work, because that's how you technically should do it. But for that to work long term, we got to be looking at a teenager right now.
Right.
We got to be grooming a teenager right now from age 14 to 28. Get them right. And then for what Brian is saying to work, it's basically whoever we're gonna vote for, we gotta look at what is their agenda. Who are they about us? Because money talk, and even I'm talking about the local level. Forget the federal, because the federal process don't really affect us or like that. Yeah, I mean, money gets passed down, federal, state, city, local. I get it, but at the local level, we could absolutely come together in our communities and back somebody with cash.
That's what I mean. That's right.
Yeah, we can
That's
do that because we
That's
have to
right.
do that, because that's why we
And then
keep
that
falling
person up.
short.
I gotta ask you guys this will be one of the last questions, and I hate to even have to ask you guys this. We've always I kind of know each one of us differently, and I know that all of us was raised to respect our elders. Whip Clyburn. Whip Clyburn literally is the kingmaker, him and Stacey Abrams. And they asked Whip Clyburn, for those that don't know, is the whip. Joe Biden was in 6th place before Super Tuesday. 6th place. Whip Clyburn came out and said he rallied all the baby boomers and said we need to get behind Joe Biden. This man single-handedly catapulted Joe Biden on the #1 spot. This weekend, Whip Clyburn was on with George Stephanopoulos, ABC News.
Right.
And George Stephanopoulos said, look, obviously, the black community came out for President-elect Biden and this, that, and third. George Stephanopoulos literally gave him the whole platter and asked Whip Clyburn, what do you guys want for your vote? And the whip said, we don't want nothing.
That was strange.
Is it strange though? Is it strange?
We don't want nothing.
Is that strange though? Is that strange? Like, we got to look at the person who said it, right? And again, his role that he's played in politics. I don't want to disrespect him, but he a token brother. He big. Along. That's how he came in. Like
right.
He there for a specific. No, we don't want nothing.
Now we know if you'd have asked Stacey this same question, she would have had a list of demands.
Maybe. You gotta understand.
Look, Seagrams, Million Man March, Stacey Abrams, right?
Right.
Okay, that's a different Stacey Abrams than the one that went to the governor's race and saw what politics really is about. Now, she galvanized the people, there's no doubt, but you got to look at it like this too. She played a role, right? She's about the party. You got to be about the party, not the people, when you play in that Democratic game, in that Republican game. Because, you got to sacrifice you. You got to sacrifice the individual for the collective. That's how so she sat there and watched them say that. Oh, we don't want anything. Now, when they got off them cameras, I bet she lit into his ass. You have to. But how can you sit there and say, no, she wasn't on the show, but when he got off the show, they had to talk. They already know what he was gonna say when he went on there. He ain't coming off the cuff. We don't want nothing. We just want to see Trump gone. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what we've been reduced to in this country. That's it.
And then sometimes the elders are better at guiding than executing, right? So they kind of slow down a little bit. They have the wisdom for you, and they can tell you, give you perspective, and they can give you good insight. But sometimes it's like the wise trainer, right? He can tell you how to shoot the jab and the hook, but he can't quite do it like that no more.
Right.
So you got
right.
Clyburn might be a little bit, past his prime. Might need to hang it up.
He's.
How about this though? How about the Democrats of today was the slaveholders back in the day, 200 years ago, and then the Republicans, the Republicans used to get their vote suppressed, right? And over time, what happens? You go on both sides, You infiltrate each other, and the next thing you know, the slaveholders is still in power. It's just they just have a different slavery tool.
Right.
Economics.
Right.
They holding it over our head. You know, the economics. You know, there's so many poor people in this country. You know, rich is a subjective thing. You're either wealthy or you poor. How you live is up to you. That what makes you rich.
Right.
You know, and I think we got to get past the financial part. We live in a capitalist society. So we do need to put our money together and back people. But I just look at the flip-flop that the Democratic Slave Party in the 1800s is about the people today. And we bought that. It took 5-6 generations for us to buy it. But nobody even looks back, say, oh, yeah, they used to be the slaveholders. And now the Republicans are looked at as the bad guys because they are, right? On some level, because of the capitalism situation and the way that they're painted in the media.
Yeah.
But don't forget, the ideology of a party rarely changes. The slaveholders still got the people by the neck.
One
of the questions in the chat.
Conservative.
I don't know if y'all like.
Who is conservative? Conservative towards which angle? Financial, or religion?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or morality?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know,
right.
It's a lot of stuff in there.
Someone in the chat asked us a question. They said, y'all for Trump?
Not at all. I didn't vote for Trump. I can tell you that. I can say that with conviction. I did not vote for Trump. I didn't vote for him the first time.
For the person, average kid, we're respecting people's right to choose who they want to be with. That's the reason why we're having this discussion. The discussion is basically the aftermath from the election. We have to understand that 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. 74 million people voted for Joe Biden, and the rest may have left it blank. So whether a person is for Trump or not for Trump, that should never be our objective on trying to come up with positive solutions for, number one, us, and number one, all people in general. So I just need people to understand that we're not going to allow these mind games and semantics with words divide us that's here trying to discuss.
If you're a businessman, if you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a businessman. I'm gonna tell you like this. When I was sitting there thinking about, well, damn, you know, who am I gonna vote for? Yeah, I thought about voting for Trump. Yeah, because I was like, you know what, he a businessman. Not because I agree with his policies.
Right.
It's not that, you know, I was thinking about, you know what, as a businessman, and we live in a capitalist society, I know that the federal level doesn't really affect me personally. I said, what did I have to lose? But then when you start getting into the whole politics of who you are going to vote for and why, I looked at it and I said, well, you know what? I don't have to vote for him because he's going to get votes. I said, you know what? I'm going to vote an agenda, and I just voted for the person who I wanted to vote for. I knew I wasn't voting for Biden. I could not do that.
Right.
You know, just because of, yes, it affected me personally. Yes, you shouldn't vote with your emotions. You should vote with your head and the facts and what's going to help you and your family. But if you're going to say, oh, we're just robots, I'm just going to click, you know, just write all Democrat down the line. That's not thinking. We're not thinking.
Let me say this, just based on the comment we got, like, and none of the conversation between us that I feel as though anybody was a Trump supporter, right?
I didn't hear anything pro-Trump, actually. Nobody. I thought that was weird too. Yeah.
It's no, you know what it is? You
right?
know what it is?
But this is where we are. But
right.
This is where we are. Is anytime you have any diversity of thought from this democratic, progressive, whatever it is, right? That they think we supposed to be, then, you know, you get
see upwards
right
from 92 to 98% of the Democratic Party. I mean, the black vote has been going to the Democratic Party for the last 60 years. The Democratic Party, let's get one thing straight. They owe the black community. And we ain't just talking about this election. They owe us for the last 60 years. number one, all the way back to the Civil Rights Bill, where they signed, and it's still the Civil Rights Bill does not specifically benefit black people, because when they got Dr. King to finally agree on, they actually went and told him to make some provisions, which, for lack of better words, I'm glad Dr. King got it signed, but we need those provisions met. So I need people to understand that when they see middle-aged black people, because it's a certain group of us that's doing it. We're holding the Democratic Party by their ankles. We want our money. We want what they owe us for being loyal and the loyal voting bloc. So everybody always tries to say, why do you guys sound like you're Trump supporters? Why do you guys sound like the Republicans? No, we just hold them accountable.
Right.
Like they hold us accountable when they want to solicitate the vote. So we just hold them accountable. And there's nothing wrong with asking them. Vote is a fair exchange.
Right.
And this is why I downvoted. Downvoted was the same thing Seagrams did. We didn't vote for no president. So there's nothing wrong with, even if you voted for Joe Biden. Joe Biden if he's the president, he will be the president for all the people like Trump was. We're not these black people that thought Trump, oh, not my president. Well, you wasted 4 years of your time doing that then. You wasted 4 years of asking people.
The ballot is more than the president. There's other races on there. So you vote for those races, you know, like the Senate, the Congress, all of that. The flip side is when people say that if they think that you are a Trump supporter, you know, I was trying to figure out why would you think that?
That's just a dirty word right now, man. And it, like you said, it more so speaks to, like brother Tariq was talking about, a diversity of thought. You know, just any type of thing that is not, he's racist, this, that. If you're not saying those talking points, that means you're a supporter. And it doesn't mean like what Q was going back to about how, no, we just want to hold you accountable. How we looked out many times. We've done this. We've taken stuff on the chin a long time. So like, just because I'm starting to, all right, listen, I'm coming to collect my money now. You know, you let somebody borrow some money, right? You don't say nothing, they act like they don't owe you, okay? But like,
didn't Dr. King say that? We coming to Washington, D.C. to get our check.
We coming to get our check.
He said that.
You know,
we coming to get our check.
Once you ask for your money back, you know, people try to act like, oh, we enemies. No, I just want my money back. You know, we're not beefing. Like, it ain't like that.
Cut the check.
What's owed to me.
But this is the other thing too. We're killing all of our leaders, right? Because your leader ain't gonna think like you. Guess what? You're gonna think he batshit crazy half the time. But that's what leaders do, right? But we find that motherfucker who don't think like
they thought Marion Barry was crazy. People love Barry. They love Marion Barry.
I want people. I want if we have the time, you know, I know Brian got my little cousin. He up there just jumped in the bed, right? I want people to realize something about President Trump. Cable news needs this man. Yeah. Cable news is dragging this story out. Cable news is milking this cow for everything he got.
All that money.
Listen, because without Donald Trump, cable news would not exist. We could go all the way back to cable news jumping on the scene with O.J. Simpson. They wouldn't have been able to exist with O.J. They're polarizing figures.
Right.
So anybody think that when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, when they become the president, vice president, CNN gonna be talking about celebrities again? When the last time you heard CNN do a story on a celebrity? They don't do it. So Trump is polarizing. The media has used him to polarize a country. 70 million people voted for this man. And we got to understand that when somebody holds the Democratic Party accountable, that does not mean that they're not democratic in their party. I'm independent. What does that mean? What does independent really mean? My values and stuff could be all over the place according to some people. But
everybody should be independent in nature. Every voter should be independent in nature because you don't. Again, you're not you're not a robot, so you're not specifically here on everything. Everybody should be independent.
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
it's funny we talked about that because I seen very something Tariq had explained, and Tariq was talking about the number one subject. Tariq was talking about abortion, and I was looking at some comments Tariq had put, and Tariq was like, "When are we going to stop?" And Tariq was not saying he wasn't against abortion. People just thought that he was saying it, but Tariq was like, "When are we going to stop rewarding irresponsible behavior?"
Right.
And I when
Who
he
wants
said
to
it,
have
I
that
looked at it, I was
conversation?
like, I said, "Whoa," because it hit home with me.
Right.
That's an adult conversation.
Making mistakes as a younger man and being able to have quote unquote that safeguard, for lack of better words. So I think that we as people, we need to always be able, like Seagroom said, have these adult conversations. This is the reason why I wanted you guys to come on tonight, man. And I really appreciate you guys. We could talk forever, but I know, listen, we looking at the landscape. We know we gonna be back to this conversation real soon.
Very soon.
Yeah, no doubt, brothers.
Yeah. So like Elsie said in the
It's
chat,
been good chopping it up with y'all.
the media decided this election, and the media might have jumped the gun too, because they will
the
be
media
looking.
they don't decide the election though.
That's the problem.
They told you who they think won. We gonna find out though.
I could just see the Supreme. Look,
What you said, Brian? They only need one bad ballot.
That's it.
That's
Just
it.
one.
Legal
One.
legal, to validate their claim, because you can't just go to the court and say, "Well, I think there are bad ballots." No, they're gonna come with a bad ballot.
Yeah,
that's it.
Listen, they're out there. We know that
they're out there.
They're out there. Now, how extensive it may be, we don't know, but we know they're gonna find one in each state.
All they need is different ballots. Like,
Right,
which one should we be counting? The one with the
thing
water
is,
mark?
The thing is,
The
what they
state
gonna
ballot?
do with it when they find the one? What they gonna do with it? What they gonna do about it? Right? That's gonna be the question.
With that, we're gonna close the show out for the night. Everybody, y'all brothers, stay on the line. With that, everybody, stay blessed and have a good night.
Peace, y'all.